Welcome to this Holy Week reflection. We've now arrived at Maundy Thursday. In the next 20 minutes or so, various members of the congregation will tell the story of Jesus' final hours of his life. From Maundy Thursday, it seemed to move at a dizzying pace. From Jesus celebrating a Passover meal and remembering God's deliverance from the Egyptians, to then, less than 24 hours later, him being crucified on a cross. In the intervening time, there was denial, betrayal, a trial, and then shouts of "Crucify him." What you're about to hear is a story told from different Gospels, but puts together those final 24 hours of Jesus' life until we arrive at Good Friday. I invite you to hear the rest of the story Friday at 1 p.m. as we gather in front of the cross, in front of the church together and worship outside in reflection. And then we'll gather again Sunday morning, hopefully at 8 a.m. You will meet us out the cross to hear the rest of the story. Because less than 72 hours from the time of this dinner together, the world would be changed forever. So join me now as we begin in John chapter 13 and hear about this Last Supper that Jesus shared with his disciples. Now, before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already put it into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during supper, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet. And he began to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus answered, "You do not know what I am doing, but later you will understand." Peter said to him, "You will never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you have no share with me." Simon Peter said to him, "Lord, not only my feet, but also my hands and my head." Jesus said to him, "One who has bathed does not need to wash except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you." For he knew who was to betray him. For this reason he said, "Not all of you are clean." After he had washed their feet and put on his robe and had returned to the table, he said to them, "Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought also to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example that you also should do as I have done to you. Very truly I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than those who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them."
Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground, and he prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples, and he found them sleeping. "Could you men not keep watch with me for just 1 hour?" He asked Peter. "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the body is weak." He went away for a second time, and he prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." Then he came back. He again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more, and he prayed a third time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour is near, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer.
And immediately, even as Jesus said this, Judas, one of the 12 disciples, arrived with a crowd of men armed with swords and clubs. They had been sent by the leading priests and the teachers of the religious law and the elders. The traitor, Judas, had given them a prearranged signal. You will know which one to arrest when I greet him with a kiss. Then you can take him away under guard. As soon as they arrived, Judas walked up to Jesus. Rabbi, he exclaimed, and gave him the kiss. Then the others grabbed Jesus and arrested him. But one of the men with Jesus pulled out his sword and struck the high priest's slave, slashing off his ear. Jesus asked them, am I some dangerous revolutionary that you come with swords and clubs to arrest me? Why didn't you arrest me in the temple? I was there among you teaching every day, but these things are happening to fulfill what the scriptures say about me. Then all his disciples deserted him and ran away. One young man following behind was clothed only in a long linen shirt. When the mob tried to grab him, he slipped out of his shirt and ran away naked.
When you prayed beneath the trees, it was for me, O Lord. When you cried upon your knees, how could it be, O Lord? When in blood and sweat and tears you dismissed your final fears, when you faced the soldiers' spears, you stood for me, O Lord. When the triumph looked complete, it was for me, O Lord. When it seemed like your defeat they could not see, O Lord. When you faced the mob alone, you were silent as a stone, and a tree became your throne. You came for me, O When you stumbled up the road, you walked for me, O Lord. When you took your deadly load, that heavy tree, O Lord. When they lifted you on high and they nailed you up to die. And when darkness filled the sky, it was for me, O Lord.
At daybreak, the council of the elders of the people, both the chief priests and teachers of the law, met together, and Jesus was led before them. If you are the Christ, they said, tell us. Jesus answered, if I tell you, you will not believe me, and if I asked you, you would not answer. But from now on, the Son of Man will be seated at the right hand of the mighty God. They all asked, are you then the Son of God? He replied, you are right in saying that I am. They then said, "Why do we need any more testimony? We have heard it from his own lips."
While Peter was below in the courtyard, one of the servant girls of the high priest came by. When she saw Peter warming himself, she looked closely at him. "You were also with that Nazarene Jesus," she said, but he denied it. "I don't know or understand what you're talking about," he said, and went out into the entryway. When the servant girl saw him there, she said again to those standing around, "This fellow is one of them." Again, he denied it. After a little while, those standing near said to Peter, "Surely you are one of them, for you are a Galilean." He began to call down curses, and he swore to them, "I don't know this man, who are you talking about?" Immediately the rooster crowed the second time. Then Peter remembered the word of Jesus had spoken to him. "Before the rooster crows twice, you will disown me 3 times." And he broke down and wept.
Early in the morning, the chief priests, elders, and scribes, the entire Supreme Court, met to discuss their next steps. Their decision was to send Jesus under armed guard to Pilate, the Roman governor. Pilate asked them, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus replied, "It is as you say." Then the chief priests accused him of many crimes, and Pilate asked him, "Why don't you say anything? What about all these charges against you?" But Jesus said no more, much to Pilate's amazement. It was Pilate's custom to release one Jewish prisoner each year at Passover time, any prisoner the people requested. One of the prisoners at that time was Barabbas, convicted along with others for murder during an insurrection. Now a mob began to crowd in towards Pilate, asking him to release a prisoner as usual. "How about giving you the king of the Jews?" Pilate asked. Is he the one you want released?" For he realized by now that this was a frame-up, backed by the chief priests because they envied Jesus' popularity. But at this point, the chief priests stirred up the mob and demanded the release of Barabbas instead of Jesus. "But if I release Barabbas," Pilate asked them, "what shall I do with this man you call your king?" They shouted back, "Crucify him!" "But why?" Pilate demanded. "What has he done wrong?" They only roared the louder, "Crucify him!" Then Pilate, afraid of a riot and anxious to please the people, released Barabbas to them, and he ordered Jesus flogged with a leaded whip and handed over to be crucified.
The soldiers led Jesus away into the palace, that is Praetorium, and they called together the whole company of soldiers. They put a purple robe on him. They twisted together a crown of thorns and set it on him. And they began to call out to him, "Hail, King of the Jews!" Again and again they struck him on the head with a staff and spit on him. Falling on their knees, they paid homage to him. And when they had mocked him, they took off the purple robe and put his own clothes on him. Then they led him out to crucify him. A certain man from Cyrene, Simon, the father of Alexander and Rufus, was passing by on his way in from the country, and they forced him to carry the cross. They brought Jesus to a place called Golgotha, which means the place of the skull.
We end tonight standing in front of the cross, where palm branches adorn it from either side, reminding us that just a week ago, people stood in the streets and they shouted with their palm branches, "Hosanna! Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." And then just a few days later, we're shouting, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Well, such was the nature of Holy Week, the highs and the lows, and then the highs again. We'll get there eventually on Easter Sunday morning, but in the meantime, reflect on this life that Christ has lived and given for us. Tomorrow at 1 p.m., we encourage you to gather just outside the preschool building at the cross, where we will remember and reflect on Good Friday, then we will wait patiently through the silence and pain of Holy Saturday until we come again together on Easter Sunday morning at 8 a.m. outside again at the cross. I encourage you to join us there live outside at 8 a.m. on Easter Sunday morning, and then again in the sanctuary at 10:30 if you are unable to make the 8 a.m. service. We look forward to worshiping with you and celebrating the rest of this Holy Week together.